Hey everyone! In this video today, I want to show you guys how to make this really cute heart braid friendship bracelet pattern. It's a little confusing the way that it's laid out, but I can assure you that this pattern is very easy and quick and fun to make. So let's get right into it. So for this bracelet, you are going to need 4 strands of one color, 4 strands of a second color, and 4 strands of a third color. You'll measure each string around 40 inches, but you may need to measure that longer or shorter depending on how long the bracelet is going to be. If you want to make a loop with ties on the end, just like I have on this bracelet here, you will measure 2 strings from each color, but you will double that measurement, and then you'll fold them in half. Now, in order to make a loop at the top, you do kind of have to do a different technique. If you look on the pattern itself, you'll notice that the strings don't mirror each other, so you can't just really make a teardrop loop. So what I do is I make my loop at the top, and then I gather all of the strings with a square knot so that they're all just kind of in one group. And then I'll do a technique that is called triangle ends, where the pattern will kind of open up and then you can work completely on it, and then triangle ends on the end with the ties. There are a ton of great videos out there on how to make these, and even I have a tutorial on how to make these shape starts that I always forget about. Just for the sake of time, I recommend watching a tutorial really quick if you don't know how to do this. And as a quick disclaimer, you do not have to start your bracelets with all of these fancy starts. You really can just tie your strands in a knot at the top, or make a loop and just tie a quick overhand knot. If these concepts are a little bit too tricky for you to learn at the moment, it is completely okay to just go right past it and start on the pattern. It's not going to affect anything in any way unless you're bothered by the lack of aesthetics, I guess. But for your string order, you can see I have 4 of my yellow strands in a group together, then 4 of my teal strands, and then 4 of my sort of salmon red strands over here. And you're kind of treating this pattern like a braid, but in the form of knots. So when we start on the left side, all of our yellow group of strands are going to go over the teal and go in the middle. And then once they're in the middle, we'll go on the right side, knot all of our strands toward the middle. And that is kind of how you make that braid formation, but then with the addition of our hearts. So when you look at it that way, we can go ahead and ignore this right group of strands for now. And we're going to start off taking our outermost left strand, and we're going to make forward knots across all of these strands to the right of it. So in total, we're going to do forward knots across 7 strands. Now we're going to come back to our outermost left strand again, and we are going to do forward knots across the next 4 strands to the right of it. And then with the next strand in line, we are going to pick it up and do a backward knot onto this leading strand that we've been working with. And then we're going to put that over to the left side, and we're going to pick this leading strand back up and do a forward knot onto the strand to the right of it. And then go ahead and put that off to the side. As you'll notice, we will not be making knots all the way across over to the right side. Once we finish this sort of row of knotting, we can throw the strand off to the side and keep doing that until this whole group is finished. So again, come back to your outermost left strand and do 2 forward knots onto the next 2 strands to the right of it. And then we're going to pick up the next strand in line, and we're going to do a backward knot onto this leading strand to the left of it. And then we're going to pick up the next strand in line, and again we're going to do a backward knot onto that leading strand to the left of it. And then we're going to take this leading strand once again and do a forward knot onto the strand to the right of it. And then put that strand off to the side. And finally for this section, we're going to come back over to our outermost left strand. And we are going to do forward knots across the next 4 strands to the right of it. And that whole section of the braid is completed. As you can see, my yellow strands, which started off on the left side, are now in the middle, just like a regular braid. But let's go ahead and take our left group of strands and throw them off to the side for now, because we are only going to focus on these 2 groups over here. And we are going to repeat everything we just did, but we are going to do all of the knots backwards. So with our outermost right strand, we are going to do backward knots onto all of these strands to the left of it. So you'll be making backward knots across 7 strands. Okay, and then we can move that strand over to the left side because we won't be doing any knots onto it, so we can just move that out of the way. And then we'll come back to our outermost right strand again. And first what we'll do is backward knots across the next 4 strands to the left of it. And then we're going to pick up this next strand to the left of our leading strand, and we're going to do a forward knot onto that strand to the right of it. And then we'll pick this leading strand back up once again and do a backward knot onto this final strand to the left of it. Move that off to the left side, pick up our outermost right strand once again, and do backward knots onto the next 2 strands to the left of it. And then we're going to pick up the next strand in line and do a forward knot onto that leading strand to the right of it. Move that over, pick up the next strand in line, and again, do a forward knot onto the leading strand to the right of it. Put that off to the side once again, and then we're going to pick up our leading strand again and do a backward knot onto the strand to the left of it. And then finally, we're going to come back to our outermost right strand, and we are going to do backward knots across these 4 strands to the left of it. And that is the whole pattern complete. You can see my red strands, which were on the right side, have sort of crossed over the yellow, and now they're in the middle. So naturally, your color order is going to completely change back and forth and repeat itself up until you have your full bracelet complete. So you can follow this video along again from the start of the tutorial and have no problems following the exact same steps, but just keep in mind the color order will constantly be changing. But I feel like this is pretty simple to kind of keep in mind as you are working up. It really is just like a braid, except you're making knots to go over the strands to go into the middle, just like a regular braid, but with the addition of just this very cute sort of heart cutout. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video today. Let me know down below what you think of this one. Tag me in pictures on Instagram with my username down below. If you want to check out my most recent video, you can go ahead and click over here, but YouTube thinks you might like this one. Again, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.